Hello survivors, today we're looking at Sons of the Forest and some ideas that can drastically improve the gameplay. This is True Turtle, and like always, these suggestions are just my opinions, and my opinions are always right. Let's do this. Before I continue, I want to give a quick disclaimer that this isn't a video to bash on M. Night or the game Sons of the Forest. This is actually coming from a big fan of how M. Night makes the games, how they do survival games, because I love the forest and I love how immersive it is, and I like how it's more on the player's skill rather than the player's character's level. And I'm all about this. I like M. Night. I think they're doing a great job. This video is just ideas. All right, now let's get started. All right, so if you played the game, you know it's beautiful and you feel immersed, which is awesome. And if you haven't played the game, the full game release just came out with such an epic trailer. At least I enjoyed it. I do want to mention something that the game has really good reviews in Steam, but as far as reviews from content creators, they're not the most positive reviews. For example, Farkit, who has been following the forest for such a long time and like has done a bunch of work, including the forest, and has followed Sons of the Forest right from the beginning, even before it was released in early access. His opinions about the game aren't exactly welcoming in a sense, or aren't exactly good to hear. There's problems in the game, and I would have to agree with that. And I've seen certain issues that, well, this is what this video is dedicated to, is to kind of give some ideas on how to fix certain issues that affect the gameplay, issues as far as frustration or logic. But the main idea of these videos are just ways to improve on what Endnight has already kind of put in the game. Um, this video was originally supposed to be one video, but then I decided to cut it down to two videos, and because it was still so long, I decided to make each section a separate video. The first part will be talking about building, the second part will be talking about combat, the third part will be talking, one of my favorite parts by the way, will be talking about immersion, and the fourth part will be talking about the map. Okay, I hope that was enough for you guys. Let's get along to the ride. In my opinion, perhaps the biggest seller in this game is the new building system. Wow, I'm just gonna say it right out of the bat, it is a downgrade from the forest building system in purposes of convenience and effectiveness. It is still a lot more intriguing. It's way more immersive. Ugh, I can't talk. It's done right. Like you can see the amount of effort M. Night put into this new mechanic, and I'm not gonna judge the building system from an aspect of it was the wrong choice. You can see a lot of creativity, a lot of actual work put into this, but it is a big hindrance in the game in the state that it is on. It is far too confusing for a casual player. It is too inconsistent from certain aspects, and it has just too many bugs with it. It's too hard to make anything too unique in the game with the current building system, and it takes too long. And not long in a sense where the part of gathering the wood, the part of building what you're trying to build, that process is already a long process, but that's okay. That's part of the game intended way the construction should be. What takes long is figuring out how to make what you're trying to build for, because there's going to be a lot of challenges along the way to try to make what you're trying to make, and it might not even work. In this clip, we're watching how I'm trying to make a simple platform, but the only challenge here is I don't want it to be a full log on height. I want it to be a full log plus another measurement of log on top of it, and half the top part be connected into a perfect flat floor. And I can't get it done. It takes forever to try to solve through these issues because of the logic of the building on what got placed first and how it connects to what, and other areas. Like it doesn't have easy solutions. And imagine a regular gamer A regular player who buys the game and tries to start building, it's gonna create frustration, and that's already a problem. Something I would suggest to really, it won't fix the building, but I think it can go a long way to improving it and making it a lot more enjoyable experience for the players. It would have to be to aim at making the building less restrictive and allowing the player to connect and make things a lot more by their own choice. And definitely, I've seen this one being suggested, and I have to agree 100%. A way to toggle between clip connecting your logs together and freeing yourself to place a log anywhere you want from the working area of logs that are already placed. For example, in this clip, there's this 4 square foundation already based, but you can't really place a log in the middle of that 4 square connection because it wants you to connect it to one of the corners or one of the faces. If you could click something to shift that away and you can place, a log standing on top of that little 4 square foundation you have, it would go a long way because the alternative isn't player friendly. It's placing a log away from the connection, trying to calculate that, the placing the log across horizontally into the foundation you've made, and hopefully you got the measurement right so that now you can place the log in there and then leave it. That's not a real workaround. That's improving the building mechanics in this game. What some other things that would honestly help get us started into this path of allowing the player to have a much easier building experience? Well, one of the things is this should just let us be able to put a full log on top of a full log, both vertical, standing up. Doing this would open up a huge amount of potential, a lot of possibilities, and it would kill a bunch of problems that emerge with the game when starting to build. So to recap, what I'm trying to say is I want the ability to connect the smallest measurements of logs, like quarter logs, on top of each other seamlessly all the way till it reaches the size of 2 full logs. To be able to do that without any prior building, any other type of support, just put 2 logs on top of 2 logs with any measurements you're working with that you want. That would really help out. But I don't want to just be able to improve the quality here with vertical logs. I would also like to be able to work horizontally, to be able to chop up a full log into any size of measurement you want and use it to connect it between vertical logs. We're talking about half a logs, quarter logs, and so on. To be able to do that and have them behave in the same manner that full logs behave when connecting them horizontally. This would help here, for example, right there, where I'm trying to place these logs, and they would go better if I could just chop them up and put them against the wall there from the cliff, because it doesn't work out in certain scenarios. I mean, we can make it work, but not always, and it's not just for this purpose only. It would be good elsewhere too. Like for example here, I can't place it nowhere. But it would be helpful if we could do this and build platforms in such a manner and build walls in such a manner. Just think about that right now. Almost think of this as like how we have the game right now is we are playing. Let's compare this to Legos. We're playing with Legos, but all the Legos are pretty much the same measurement of size that you can possibly connect together. If you can change that, if you can add smaller pieces to connect with bigger pieces, but still have them all go together, this could open up a lot of things. You would be able to make so many different things that you wouldn't even think of now, and you would be able to solve a lot of problems in such a ways. You could add smaller balconies from windows and add plants to those sides and make it decorate nice and do other things of such a nice fashion. Who knows what else you could do? But it's not just in the spirit of creativity, it's also in the spirit of bug fixing and issues, lowering the amount of issues, because it's the building issues that it's the reason I haven't played the game in a while. The game itself is fine, it's fun, but the building is a problem for me. The building, the amount of trial and error to do something that should be simple is it's what gets in my head as do I want to play right now? And it's other things as like being able to do simple things like for example staircases next to a wall. How common are staircases next to a wall in the real world? This is this type of mindset of building almost comes by default because it's clean, it takes up a little bit of space, it's convenient. I always want to do that, to be honest. I always want to have staircase lead to a second floor within the same building that I'm building, and I don't want staircases all the time to be in the middle of the hallway. And other issues like connecting horizontal logs um, by using walls as supports, that doesn't seem to happen either. Like I have issues with that. The these things are meant to fix certain issues that I'm trying to point out that feel like they should be possible and reasonable to do. And it's just these type of things that we're not able to do now that we should be able to do. We should be able to make smaller closets within our buildings. And a bunch of other things that we honestly should have the right to do, especially the foundations. The foundations in this game are hard to work with, very hard to work. But the ability to sort of make one of those, what is that called? A totem. Not sure why my head went to one of these, but I guess it's because it could be a reasonable explanation to why we should be allowed to make two logs stand on each other. But this would really be helpful, guys. I hate the small roof from one pole, and I'm always trying to make that roof bigger. And I can succeed at doing it, but it takes too much work to make it happen. There's a lot of issues on the way to try to make it happen. I don't want to deal with that. And I'm very tolerant of the game, and I'm just thinking of like friends and other players that I might want to invite to play this game, and that's always like a little like thumb in the back of my neck when I'm trying to mention them to play the game because I know they're gonna struggle once they get to this part. I'm just hoping that the best happens. It's a sign of an issue, and the ability to be able to construct heights and connect them seamlessly between one log to two logs would just eliminate a bunch of problems. And who knows what it could also bring up in the community and in the spirit of building in this game. I know M. Night likes freedom. I'm not so sure why they're so restrictive when it comes to the building. I'm I really don't know. A lot of my temptation, and it can't be me alone, we want to build on edges, cliff sides, the side of a hill, and building structures gets complicated like that. If the game could publish the connections between horizontal logs and vertical logs of different sizes and would publish the ability to edit those sizes throughout the build would be very helpful. It would just make things a lot smoother and a lot more enjoyable. If we can get that happening, that would be amazing. And to get that happening, I think in a lot of scenarios, those edges are very much deep enough where you're gonna need some parts to be bigger than just one log to be able to connect the two sides together. If we can get that working, that would be a lot better. All right, now another small problem, still a problem, but another small problem would be when you are building a floor and you are increasing the size of that floor and the land isn't perfectly flat, so it can go uphill a little bit and then downhill and uphill a little bit. Sometimes it goes uphill just enough where you can't continue connecting that floor piece, and you would have to be forced to build up stairs to connect more floor, in a sense creating almost the second room instead of having that distance of the floor. I would imagine it shouldn't be too hard, though this is a smaller problem, but it shouldn't be too hard to use the shovel to dig out the part or the path of the extra log that you're trying to put in there, connect the log's floor, and have it show up almost buried, but still be able to connect that side. That would be nice if M Night did that. It would just help a little bit further in our building experience. As you can see, there's some examples here where we could use the shovel and give it more value in the game. Another one for the building, it would be, you know how in the forest you could have annoying tree stump get in the way, but if you whack the tree stump enough, it would disappear and be out of your building space or your yard space. Well, in Sons of the Forest, that's even become easier with even accidentally breaking those tree stumps while cutting the tree, but you can clear those tree stumps. That's fine. Something you couldn't do in the forest and something you still can't do in Sons of the Forest is get rid of the big boulder rocks that are definitely taking up your land. And while in the forest it makes sense, you really can't do anything to get out of it except for maybe the dynamite. I don't know. In Sons of the Forest, you could still use maybe explosives to explain a way to get rid of those rocks, but you also have the pickaxe in this game, which I think is good enough to justify the ability to break those rocks out of the way so that your building space is clean. I would like to see that. I like that you can get rid of the tree stumps a lot. I also want to get rid of some of these big rocks in my beautiful land. I hope that might be a thing. I don't know how hard it might be to do that, but I hope we can see that. That's it. That's all I have for the building so far. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Like I said, I'm trying to actually make these requests somewhat achievable and realistic. I think these alone would make a massive difference. I hope we can see some further improvements in the building aspect. And I am tempted to bring something up that isn't very realistic, but why not, if it becomes necessary, why not give the player the option to build with the book from the forest, like a book like that, and build in the same manner that we have in Sons of the Forest. That one sounds like it's too much of an ask, but maybe just at least let us build custom foundation that way. I'm not sure, but that's all I wanted to talk about the building. Now I want to jump into the combat.
So you made it to the end of the video. Look at you. Good job. Anyway, so I'm not entirely sure when the next video is going to come out, but I promise it will be about the same as this video. As you may have noticed by my complete lack of good editing, this is my first video. And so, hey, kudos, you got to see my first video. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it nonetheless. And if you did enjoy it, that like button would be nice. If you didn't enjoy it, that like button would be even nicer. Um, and subscribe for more, of course. And see you guys next time.